February 10th, 1945. For 30 p.m. sky over Apari, northern Luzon, Philippines. The jungle below burns. Columns of black smoke claw into the evening sky. Anti-aircraft fire bursts in dark, violent clouds. Every second, another tracer round tears through the air. High above the chaos, a lone American fighter circles. Its engine growls. Its wings bear the white star of the United States Army Air Forces. Inside the cockpit, First Lieutenant Louis Edward Curd stares through his gun sight an aircraft he never expects to see. It isn't Japanese. It isn't German. It isn't even armed. It is an American C-47 Skitran. The silver transport flies low, dangerously low, directly toward an airfield still held by Japanese forces. Kurds blinks. He checks the markings again. American. There is no mistake. Inside that airplane are American servicemen, Army nurses, flight crew, people who believe they are flying towards safety. They have no idea they are only minutes away from landing in enemy territory. Kurds reaches for his radio. Nothing. Static. He changes frequencies. Silence. He rocks his wings. No response. He dives closer, trying every signal American pilots know. Still nothing. The transport never changes course. Below it, Japanese soldiers wait beside the runway. If the C-47 lands, dozens of Americans will disappear behind enemy lines. Some may spend months in brutal prison camps. Some may never come home. The fighter pilot has only seconds to decide. There is no order to follow, no handbook, no training mission, no officer in a control tower telling him what to do. There's only one man, one fighter, and one impossible choice. Protect the Americans inside the airplane, or destroy the airplane carrying them. Every instinct tells a fighter pilot to defend friendly aircraft. Every rule tells him never to fire on his own side. Yet every second he hesitates carries the transport closer to the Japanese runway. The distance shrinks. 2 miles. 1 mile. The decision can no longer wait. Kurds pushes the throttle forward. His fighter surges ahead. The C-47 fills his windscreen. He places a gun sight, now on the cockpit, not on the engines, but on the landing gear. His finger tightens around the trigger. A burst of .50 caliber machine gun fire erupts from wings. The bullets rip through rubber and aluminum. One tire explodes. Then another. The transport shudders violently. Smoke trails behind it. Inside the cabin, panic erupts. No one understands why an American fighter has just attacked an American airplane. Has the pilot gone insane? Is it a case of mistaken identity? Or has something happened that no one else can see? The crippled transport begins to lose altitude, but it is no longer capable of making a safe landing on a Japanese airstrip. Instead, the pilot struggles to keep control as the aircraft drifts away from enemy territory toward an open field. Below, stunned Japanese troops watch their prize slip away. Above them, the American fighter continues to circle like a silent guardian. Moments later, the damaged C-47 crashes into friendly held ground. The passengers survive. The Japanese capture no one, and the man who fires on his own aircraft will later receive one of America's highest decorations. Not despite his actions, but because of them. It sounds impossible. A pilot who shoots down an American airplane. A mission that succeeds only because friendly fire saves friendly lives. A decision measured not by rules, but by consequences. For decades, it remains one of the most extraordinary moments in the history of the United States Army Air Forces. But this story doesn't begin over the skies of Luzon. It begins years earlier, with a young man whose skill in the cockpit will carry him across 3 continents, into 2 wars, and toward a split-second decision that no pilot ever expects to make. The story begins long before that desperate afternoon over the Philippines. It begins in the rolling countryside of Fort Wayne, Indiana, where Louis Edward Kurd grows up during the hardships of the Great Depression. Like thousands of young Americans, he watches aviation transform from a dangerous experiment into the future of warfare. Airplanes are becoming faster every year. Pilots are becoming national heroes. To Kurds, the sky represents freedom. When the United States enters the Second World War after the attack on Pearl Harbor, thousands volunteer for military service. Kurds is one of them. He earns his wings through demanding flight training, where instructors push young cadets to their limits. Every maneuver must become instinct. Every emergency must be handled without hesitation. A fighter pilot has only seconds to think. The wrong decision often means death. Kurds proves he belongs. He is calm under pressure, precise, aggressive when necessary, but disciplined enough to avoid reckless mistakes. Those qualities earn him an assignment flying one of America's newest and most feared fighters, the P-51 Mustang. Powered by its roaring Packard-built Merlin engine, the Mustang changes the air war. It flies farther than previous American fighters, escorts bombers deep into enemy territory, and can match almost anything Germany or Japan puts into the sky. Inside its cockpit, Kurds finally has a machine every fighter pilot dreams of. Before long, he is sent overseas. His first combat assignment takes him to Europe. The skies over the continent are among the deadliest battlefields on Earth. Every mission begins the same way. Engines roar, propellers blur. Pilots climb into freezing altitudes where oxygen masks are essential, and survival depends on seeing the enemy first. One mistake, one blind spot, one burst of cannon fire. That is all it takes. Kurds adapts quickly. He learns that aerial combat has little in common with the romantic stories printed in newspapers back home. Dogfights last seconds, sometimes less. Pilots rarely see the aircraft that shoots them down. Instead, victory belongs to whoever notices the other first. Kurds develops that instinct. His eyes constantly scan the horizon. Clouds, sunlight, wing flashes, anything unusual. Soon, those instincts begin paying off. During fierce engagements over Europe, he scores his first confirmed aerial victories. One enemy fighter falls, then another. His confidence grows, but so does the danger. Every successful mission paints a target on his back. Enemy pilots now know American escorts are becoming increasingly deadly. The Luftwaffe fights harder. Dogfights grow more violent. Explosions fill the sky. Some missions end with empty spaces in formation where friends had flown only minutes earlier. Loss becomes routine. Kurds learns the hardest lesson of war. Not everyone returns. Still, he keeps flying. By the time his European tour ends, he has established himself as an exceptional fighter pilot. Most men would consider that enough combat for one lifetime. The Army Air Forces do not. Instead of returning permanently to civilian life, Kurds volunteers for another assignment. This time, the Pacific. It is an entirely different war. Different enemy, different climate, different tactics. Instead of gray European skies, he now flies over endless blue oceans, dense jungles, volcanic islands, and tropical heat that seeps into every machine. The distances are enormous. A pilot forced to bail out over Europe might land near friendly forces. A pilot forced to bail out over the Pacific often lands in open water or territory controlled by Japan. Rescue is never guaranteed. Neither is survival. By early 1945, American forces are steadily pushing the Japanese back across the Pacific. Island after island falls under Allied control. But every victory comes at a terrible cost. Japanese resistance remains fierce. Many garrisons fight until the last man. Airfields become strategic prizes. Whoever controls them controls the skies. Kurds is assigned to support operations around the Philippine Islands, where American troops are working to liberate territory after years of Japanese occupation. Almost every day, he flies combat patrols, escort missions, ground attacks, interceptions. His reputation continues to grow. By now, something unusual has happened. Kurds has achieved confirmed victories against aircraft from more than one enemy nation. He has shot down German airplanes in Europe. Now, he begins adding Japanese aircraft to his record in the Pacific. Few American pilots ever fight in both theaters of the war. Even fewer become successful in both. Among fellow pilots, Kurds earns respect not because he boasts about victories, but because he survives. Survival is never guaranteed. Each takeoff could be the last. Each landing feels like borrowed time. Yet despite all his experience, despite every dogfight he has survived, despite every enemy aircraft he has destroyed, nothing prepares him for what is about to happen on February 10th, 1945. The coming mission does not begin with enemy fighters. There are no Zeros diving out of sun, no desperate turning battle, no dramatic chase through the clouds. Instead, it begins with something far more confusing, a radio report, an American transport aircraft, and a navigational mistake so small that it will soon force one fighter pilot to make one of the most controversial decisions in U.S. military aviation history. The morning of February 10, 1945 begins like countless others in the Philippines. American forces continue their advance across Luzon, but the island is far from secure. Large pockets of Japanese troops still hold key positions, including several airfields along the northern coast. Every runway matters. Every supply flight is vulnerable. A single navigational error can carry an aircraft straight into enemy hands. First Lieutenant Louis Kurtz climbs into the cockpit of his P-51 Mustang for another routine combat air patrol. The mission sounds simple. Keep the skies clear. Watch for enemy aircraft. Protect American operations. Nothing suggests that, before the day is over, his greatest challenge will come from a friendly airplane. Hours into the patrol, Kurtz notices movement far below. A twin-engine transport is flying north. At first, nothing seems unusual. The aircraft shape is instantly recognizable. A Douglas C-47 Skitran, the dependable workhorse of the Allied Air Forces. Thousands of them carry troops, fuel, ammunition, food, and wounded soldiers throughout the war. They are not built for combat. They have little chance against enemy fighters. Kurtz moves closer. Sunlight flashes across the wings. Then he sees the unmistakable white star and bar insignia. American. He checks again. There is no doubt. The transport belongs to the United States Army Air Forces. But something is wrong. Very wrong. Instead of heading toward Allied-controlled territory, the C-47 is descending toward Apari airfield, a runway still occupied by Japanese forces. Kurtz studies the ground through breaks and clouds. He can make out vehicles, defensive positions, men moving near the runway. Those aren't American troops. They're Japanese. The realization hits him instantly. The crew of the C-47 has become lost. Whether because of faulty navigation, poor visibility, damaged communications, or simple confusion, they believe they're approaching a friendly airfield. In reality, they are minutes from delivering themselves and everyone on board directly into enemy captivity. Kurtz pushes the throttle forward. His Mustang closes the distance rapidly. He slides alongside the transport's left wing. The pilots glance toward him. For a brief moment, their eyes meet. Kurtz rocks his wings sharply. One of the oldest visual signals in military aviation. Follow me. Turn away. Something is wrong. The C-47 continues straight ahead. No response. He tries again. More aggressively this time. Still nothing. Perhaps they misunderstand. Perhaps they think he's simply escorting them. Kurtz cuts across their nose, forcing himself directly into their line of sight. The transport refuses to change course. His radio crackles with static. He attempts to contact them. Silence. Whether their radio has failed, they're on the wrong frequency, or interference blocks the signal. He never knows. Every option is disappearing. Below, the Japanese have noticed the incoming aircraft. Soldiers begin gathering near the runway. Some wave signal flags. Others prepare vehicles. From the ground, the transport appears to be an unexpected gift. A fully operational American airplane. Its crew, its passengers, its cargo, all arriving without a fight. Kurtz's heartbeat quickens. He knows what awaits those aboard if they land. By early 1945, reports of Japanese prisoner of war camps are already circulating among Allied forces. Starvation, disease, forced labor, executions. No pilot wants to imagine American nurses or aircrew falling into those hands. Then another thought strikes him. The passengers. This isn't an ordinary cargo flight. Intelligence reports have mentioned that American Army nurses are being transported to the Philippines to support advancing Allied forces. If women are aboard this aircraft, the consequences of capture become even more horrifying. Kurtz looks down once more. The runway is less than 2 miles away. He has seconds, not minutes. No order comes over the radio. No commander authorizes action. No manual explains what to do when a friendly aircraft is about to hand itself to the enemy. Every possible choice carries terrible consequences. If he does nothing, dozens of Americans may spend the rest of the war as prisoners. If he opens fire, he risks killing the very people he has sworn to protect. For several agonizing seconds, he weighs the impossible. Then training gives way to judgment. He makes a decision that no fighter pilot ever expects to make. He will stop the airplane without destroying it. Kurds eases behind the transport. He deliberately avoids lining up on the cockpit. One burst that could kill the pilots instantly. He avoids the engines. Damaging one might send the aircraft spinning into the jungle. Instead, he focuses on the landing gear, specifically the tires, small targets, moving at more than 200 miles per hour. One mistake could be catastrophic. He steadies the Mustang. The gun sight settles. His thumb presses a firing button. 6.50 caliber Browning machine. Guns erupt at once. The Mustang shudders as streams of tracers race toward the transport. The first burst walks carefully beneath the fuselage. Rubber explodes. Fragments scatter into the slipstream. One tire is gone. The C-47 lurches violently. Inside the cabin, panic erupts. Passengers grab their seats. Some believe they're under attack by Japanese fighters. Others stare through the windows in disbelief. The aircraft attacking them carries American markings. No one can understand why. The transport keeps flying, still heading toward the Japanese runway. Kurds cannot believe it. Even with one tire destroyed, the crew presses on. Perhaps they still don't realize where they are. Perhaps they think the fighter has mistaken them for the enemy. Whatever the reason, they're still committed to landing. Kurds has one final chance. He swings back into position. Another carefully aimed burst. More tracers flash past the wing. The second tire disintegrates. Now the transport has no safe way to land on the prepared runway. The pilots finally understand. Something is terribly wrong. Unable to complete a normal landing, they begin searching desperately for open ground away from the Japanese airfield. Kurd stays close, not as an attacker anymore, but as a protector. Below them, confused Japanese soldiers watch their prize slip away. The C-47 banks west, struggling to remain airborne as the damaged landing gear vibrates violently. Ahead lies a rough clearing inside territory, controlled by advancing American forces. It's not ideal, but it's the only chance they have. The transport settles lower, trees rush beneath its wings, and with a deafening crash of twisting metal and flying dirt, the aircraft slams into the field, skidding hundreds of feet before finally grinding to a halt. For a long moment, nothing moves. Then the cabin door opens. One by one, survivors begin climbing out. Every passenger is alive. Kurd circles overhead, watching in relief. His impossible gamble has worked. He has shot down an American airplane and saved every soul aboard. But once the dust settles, he faces a different battle. How do you explain to your superiors that you deliberately fired on a friendly aircraft? And will anyone believe that it was the only way to save it? The field falls silent. Only moments earlier, the air is filled with the roar of engines, the crack of machine gun fire, and the terrifying sound of metal scraping across the earth. Now, dust slowly settles over the wrecked C-47 Skitran. One by one, the passengers climb out, shaken, confused, alive. Some stare at the shredded landing gear that has just saved their lives. Others look skyward, searching for the American fighters still circling overhead. They don't understand what has happened. Not yet. Only later do they learn the truth. The airfield they believe is friendly is, in fact, still occupied by Japanese forces. Had they completed that landing, the outcome would almost certainly have been catastrophic. The crew, the passengers, and the Army nurses aboard will walk directly into enemy captivity at a stage of the war when Japanese resistance is growing increasingly desperate. Instead, one pilot's impossible decision changes everything. The emergency landing is rough, but survivable. Every person aboard lives. No American falls into Japanese hands that day. As the official reports are reviewed, investigators reconstruct every minute of the incident. They examine the flight path, the failed radio communications, the visual signals, and the position of the Japanese-held airfield. The evidence leads to a single conclusion. First Lieutenant Louis Edward Kurtz does exactly what the situation demands. He doesn't panic. He doesn't hesitate once every other option has failed. Most importantly, he demonstrates extraordinary discipline. He never aims for the cockpit. He never targets the engines. Instead, he chooses the smallest, most difficult target on the aircraft, the tires, knowing that a single misplaced burst could kill the very people he is trying to save. It is a calculated risk, one that succeeds. For those actions, Kurtz is awarded the Distinguished Flying Cross, recognizing heroism and exceptional achievement during aerial flight. It is a fitting honor, though few medals ever come with a story quite like this one. By the end of World War II, Kurtz has built one of the most unusual combat records in American aviation history. He records aerial victories in both the European and Pacific theaters, shooting down German, Italian, and Japanese aircraft. Then comes the incident that ensures his place in military history, a mission where the only American aircraft he ever fires upon is also the one he saves. It is a paradox that no military manual can fully explain. Wars are often remembered through clear victories and obvious defeats. But reality is rarely so simple. Sometimes the right decision looks wrong in the moment. Sometimes the most courageous action is the one almost certain to be misunderstood. Louis Kurtz never wakes up expecting to become the pilot who shoots down an American airplane. He simply wakes up ready to protect American lives. On that February afternoon over Luzon, those two duties collide. In the span of a few desperate seconds, he chooses people over protocol, judgment over hesitation, responsibility over certainty. History remembers aces for the enemy aircraft they destroy. It remembers Louis Kurtz for the one American aircraft he refused to let the enemy have. His story is a reminder that courage is not always measured by pulling the trigger. Sometimes it is measured by having the wisdom to know when to pull it, and the skill to do so without sacrificing the lives depending on you. The war eventually ends. The skies over the Pacific grow quiet. The wrecked C-47 becomes another forgotten scar on a battlefield reclaimed by time. But the decision made above it continues to echo through military history, because some of the greatest acts of heroism are not the ones that follow the rules. They are the ones that save lives when no rule has the answer. History remembers victories, but sometimes the greatest victory is making an impossible choice and living with it forever.